Peace. This is Watch for Wise Words Media back at y'all for another round. And a lot went down last week. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of back and forth over what happened between Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford, and Jake Paul. So here's the breakdown. Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford has been in talks. You know, this thing's been rumbling for about the past year. Terence Crawford has made it no secret that he wants to fight Canelo Alvarez, even joining forces with Turki Al-Sheikh to try to put more pressure on Canelo Alvarez to take this fight. He's even willing to go up to the 168-pound limit, the super middleweight division, a division he's never fought in. He never even fought in the division under that, which is middleweight, 160. He had his first fight at 154 just this past summer. So that tells you, he's willing to make this fight happen regardless of whom or what. Now, Canelo Alvarez, for one reason or another, he seemed like he wasn't too interested in the fight at times. Then at times, his interest looked like it peaked. But finally, we got word that they agreed to terms. Now, in my previous video regarding this fight, agreed to terms does not mean that they're going to fight. It doesn't mean that it's official. Agreed to terms simply means that both sides, while they're bargaining, they have certain demands. And when you agree to terms, that means that both sides are satisfied with what the other side accepted. So, there's a lot of big fights don't happen because they can't even get past this part of agreeing to terms, where who's going to be the A side, because these are the two biggest names in boxing. So who's going to go first? Usually the first name is the A side, which means they're going to get more money, which means they walk to the ring last. So all those little, might get more pay-per-view money, might get more gate sales. So all of this stuff usually goes to the A side. Or sometimes they can split it down the middle, depends. But it seems like the money split, everything was agreed upon by both sides. They agreed to terms. Then suddenly we hear that the fight is canceled. Now, in comes Jake Paul. Jake Paul and the rumors of him fighting Canelo Alvarez start to amount immediately after the Terence Crawford Canelo fight had seemingly been scratched. Canelo Alvarez, a couple days later, takes to social media and says he does not fight YouTubers. And Jake Paul, of course, took tremendous offense to that. So Jake Paul came out with a sheet, some kind of paperwork that had Canelo and Jake Paul's names on contracts. Both sides had signed. Now, again, that could have been agreeing to terms, because if it was a fight, like they agreed, this is the contract to fight on said date, Canelo can't back out like that, because now he's bound by that contract to fight. So it may have been a similar situation to Crawford, like he agreed to terms. And when he agreed to terms, Jake Paul even went as far as having him and his team went and had the promotional fight poster. They had the promotional flyer ready. They were going to deliver it yesterday, February 11th. But at the 11th hour, Turki Al-Sheikh calls Canelo Alvarez and tells Canelo, listen, don't fight him. This is not going to help our fight for September. You need to fight somebody that's a real fighter, because people are going to look at you differently if you take the Jake Paul fight, and people are not going to, it's going to mess up the bag moving forward. Moving forward, our plans to have you fight Terence Crawford in September is going to lose luster if you take on a YouTuber. And Canelo Alvarez thought about it, and he said, you know what? All right, so what do you have? And that's where Turki Al-Sheikh came at him with a 4-fight deal. We don't know the details regarding the deal, how much money was promised to Canelo Alvarez for this 4-fight deal. But what we do know is it's 4 fights. We do know Canelo fights every May and September. But Turki Al-Sheikh is giving him like windows. So he's saying from March to May is 1 fight. From, I think it was September to October was another fight. But you know, of course, he's going to pick the 2 Mexican holidays. He's going to pick May and September for both 2025 and then 2026. And as a part of the 4-fight deal, 2 of the fights have been already completed, which is the William Skull fight. And then he will be fighting Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford has given all indication that he's taking this fight because he recently took to social media himself and has a picture of him on the scale weighing like 186 pounds, well over the 168-pound limit. So now what he's going to do is just cut the weight from here to September, and he is going to easily, most likely, make that weight. And he's trying to send a message that he's ready. He's going to be of size to fight Canelo Alvarez. So it's not that easy. I mean, Terence Crawford is making it out the scene, but Terence Crawford, let's keep it a buck. This is a guy who's been shot. This guy ain't scared of nothing. It's just, that's what it is. This dude survives like 50 Cent. You see 50 Cent? 50 Cent ain't scared of nothing. Guy been shot multiple times. Survived that, feel like he can survive anything. Terence Crawford's the same way. Got shot when he was younger. Brother think he can survive anything now. So he's like, man, I'm 186 pounds. What's your excuse? But, you know, like I said in my previous video, I'm not a big fan of these type of fights because I don't like people moving up multiple weight classes. I hardly like when somebody moves up 1 weight class because it's still a disadvantage if the person never really campaigned in that weight class, never had a fight in that weight class. And if you just go straight to the top and fight the best at that weight class, it's usually a disadvantage. But now he's moving up 2 weight classes. So it's you know, it's not one of those fights that I'm excited for because of how equally paired they are. If Terence Crawford was in the same weight class as Canelo Alvarez, this fight, even then, it wouldn't be a fair fight because Terence Crawford would be way better than him. Terence Crawford would destroy Canelo Alvarez easily if they were the same weight, but they're not. And Canelo has a huge weight advantage. And yes, he could say he ballooned up to 186 and all, but if you never campaigned at 186, if your body has never had to prepare for a fight at 186 and then step in the ring, your whole mechanics may be different because of the size difference. You may not be as fast as you was before. You know, you may think that it may come, you may have more power, but who knows if you're more telegraphed because you're slower. So there's a lot of stuff that factor into moving up in weight, and you know, how your body reacts to it is another big thing. You know, you might feel different going up in weight that way. So it's a drastic weight. It's like 20 pounds heavier. So yeah, it doesn't, it's not a good idea for me, but I do like the spectacle. It's 2 big names. It's going to be a fun fight night. But as far as like skill for skill, I'd rather see Benavidez Morale. I'd rather see Beterbiev Bivol. I'd rather see fights like that. You know, a Tank versus Shakur Stevenson. Guys that are the same size, fighting the same weight class. But in any event, those who were concerned that Canelo's not going to fight Crawford, listen, Canelo Alvarez is only taking this fight because he knows he has the size advantage. That's the only reason. He's not taking any risk. Canelo Alvarez takes risks like the presidency every 4 years. Every 4 years, that's when Canelo Alvarez is going to take one risky fight every 4 years. You know, you had the Triple G fight, then some 3 years or so after that, you had the Bivol fight. Like he'll only take risks every 3-4 years. So we're due up. We're due up. I don't consider the Crawford fight a risky fight because he's way bigger than him. You know, so I think the winner of Bivol or David Benavidez taking on whoever, either Bivol or Beterbiev. I think the winner of Benavidez versus Beterbiev or Bivol, Canelo will take on the winner of the last man standing. Out of that three, he'll take on them in 2026 because Turki Al-Sheikh is in business with Beterbiev and Bivol. So I think he will take on either one of them or David Benavidez finally in 2026. He'll take the risk finally after X amount of years of running from David Benavidez. And that's another thing. Why is it that guys like Devin Haney said he was going to move up in weight to fight one fight, and the WBC stripped him immediately and made him vacate his lightweight title because he wanted to move up to 140. Meanwhile, you got Canelo Alvarez, who's been holding that one WBC belt hostage for like 5 years, and David Benavidez has been his number one contender, and he has not given David Benavidez that match, but the WBC continues to let Canelo Alvarez hold that belt hostage, while Benavidez, for the past 3 years, has been practically calling him out, begging for the fight, and there's been nothing. I take that back. Benavidez, he has a lot of pride. He doesn't beg for the fight, but he calls him out. He has called him out multiple times, and Canelo ignores him. All of a sudden, Canelo doesn't fight Mexican fighters once a Mexican and David Benavidez is at the top of the food chain. All of a sudden, he don't fight Mexican fighters. But then he turns around and he fights Jaime Munguia, who is a Mexican fighter. He fought Josecito Lopez, a Mexican fighter. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a Mexican fighter. But when it comes to the Mexican monster, I represent Mexico. I don't fight my people. Get out of here. In any event, we'll see. We'll see what happens next. We'll see what Canelo Alvarez next 2 fights will be. But for now, he's taking on William Skull. Not an attractive fight. William Skull, Cuban fighter. I've seen him fight like once or twice. He has 23 victories, 23-0. So that's what's supposed to make you say, oh, he's 23-0, right? But of the 23 fights, he only has 9 knockouts. 9. That's a tailor-made fight for Canelo Alvarez. It's a guy that doesn't have any power. He's just going to try to outbox Canelo, and Canelo's just going to pressure him, hit him to the body, hit him to the head. Good night. And then we'll just have to wait for September to see if Terence Crawford can actually pull off what will be one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. But that's how I was able to unravel all of this. Hope you got some info out of it too. I'm Waz for Waz Words Media. Peace.